Our speaker this morning is Mr. Higginbotham. Mr. Higginbotham is a math teacher and coaches varsity football, JV football, and varsity girls basketball. He is advisor to the best group of students on campus and serves as co-dorm head in Wendell with his wonderful fiancee, Miss Wan. Mr. Higginbotham.
Thank you, Noah. My time as an undergraduate student was, plainly put, a failure in many ways. I didn't graduate anywhere near the top of my class. I failed 2 courses while I was there and withdrew from 2 more courses. My GPA was solidly in the low 2s for about my entire time at school. I wasn't selected to be a JA, which is, you can think of as the prefix of my college. I did not captain my football team to a successful senior campaign. I didn't even finish my career on the lacrosse team. When I left for school, if you had asked me about any of these things, I would have predicted great success in every area. I was very confident. I thought to myself, everything I've ever done has pretty much always worked out, and I usually do pretty good. I'll be fine. I've always been good in school. I got through this IB program, and I didn't even really do my homework. Sure, I studied, but I wasn't putting in the hours some of my friends had to. I've always had success on the athletic fields, and I've always had success with my friends. Why would this be any different? Unfortunately, I was very wrong about that. But having been so wrong was a great thing for me, and probably necessary for me to reach my full potential. For me, school consisted of 2 things, my studies and my athletics. That's how I judged how I was doing in school. So let's start with grades. Shortly after arriving on campus, I realized that most of my peers were high-achieving types. I expected this, people who work very hard to achieve great grades and great success in and outside the classroom. I fancied myself one of those people as well. This was very different though. The first day of class, seriously, the very first day, I had a professor assign an entire book to read and then write a paper about over the weekend. And I say it that way because I still can't believe it. It's my first day of class and I'm getting a whole book assigned. I just got there, but it is what it is. It was nothing that I thought I couldn't handle. I did my usual routine, playing around with the idea of actually getting started on the assignment just to wait till the last day to write the paper and read the book. In the past, that had been fine. I wrote papers on books I didn't even read. This time, not so much. My professor hands the paper back to me the next class and writes, "Try again." He didn't even grade it. He had deemed my work so subpar, then rather assign it a failing grade, he said, "Do it again." Strike 1. My tactics weren't working. Later in that term, I was called into the dean's office to discuss my academics. Early in the week, I was given this letter. It was a warning to me that I was going to earn a C in the midterm in 3 of my 4 courses. How could I, smart and talented Ernest, earn a single C, let alone 3 in 1 semester? I didn't really realize this at the time, but I was devastated. I didn't really recover very well either. Over the course of the next 5 school years, I would struggle greatly academically to succeed at Williams. But it wasn't for lack of ability. My confidence was destroyed. Everything I had believed about myself as a student had been challenged and in many ways proven wrong. Rather than seek academic support, I dug in. I studied hard, but not effectively. I went to office hours, but rather than making sure I cleared up my misunderstandings, I merely checked the box, thinking showing up would be enough. And I'd be back on track as a student that I had been during my high school years. My academic performance was so poor at different times during my college career that the dean that I met with initially would send the campus security to my room to grab me so we could meet. I had been dodging him. I was afraid to deal with the reality I created for myself, and it got so bad that he even suggested I change my major from math to something else because he thought I might not be able to graduate. And while at the time I was very furious with his suggestion, he was right. I didn't graduate, not on time at least. My academic failure culminated at the end of my senior year, where I failed 2 classes. Not C's, not even D's. I truly failed these courses. I wasn't able to graduate. And there I was, at the end of what I thought was my academic career, having failed to meet my expectations and without a clue of what I would do next. I felt so alone and so isolated. Everyone around me thought I was smart and a good student, but I felt like I was a fraud. Where would I go from here? I thought. Will I even graduate ever? I didn't know. I was a pretty well-recruited athlete coming out of high school. I earned awards and recognition from the conference and the state that I played in. I was able to achieve varsity letters in 11 out of my 12 high school athletics campaigns. I was on the way to earning all 12 until I broke my leg my freshman fall. Heading to Williams, I thought I was ready to compete. I worked very hard over the summer after my senior year. I gained a lot of weight, grew much stronger than I had ever been before. And I get to school, I don't play. I can't find my way onto the field, not even for a little bit. I spent the whole year on scout team getting beat up by some of the seniors every day in practice. I kept a smile on my face, but it was hard. I had never had an experience like that. I didn't expect to start right away, but being at the bottom of the depth chart wasn't something that I was used to. During the second to last game of the season, my coach asked me if I'd played at all earlier in the year. He said he didn't want to burn my redshirt opportunity if I still had one. I replied, well, coach, you can't redshirt in Division III. But since you asked, you usually don't put me in the game. He laughed, but it really stung to admit out loud that I didn't play. Fast forward 3 years, and I had found some success. I played 2 great campaigns as a sophomore and a junior. I'd earned a starting position and the respect of my peers enough to be voted captain during my senior season. We won 2 games that year, and we lost 6. That was the worst season in Williams football in at least a decade. I couldn't find records past that. I joined a team that went undefeated in my freshman year, only to lead the team to a 2-6 record when I got behind the steering wheel. I kept thinking to myself, what could I have done? Was I a bad leader and role model for my teammates? Did I not make the workouts hard enough in the summer or over the spring? How could I, a successful football player, end my career on such a low note? The worst season the team has had in a decade. I felt I had failed as a captain. My leadership had not been strong enough to will the team to do better and to be better. I often think of moments I could wish I could get back. The moments where I could have pushed everyone harder, where I could have pushed myself harder, where I could have held people accountable, where I could have made different decisions. I could have said something different. Instead of taking those moments and learning from them and improving as a leader, I let those moments be confirmation that I wasn't the person or the leader or the player that I thought that I was. After the season ended, I didn't know what to do anymore. I wasn't playing lacrosse, so my athletics career was officially over. I wasn't motivated to exercise anymore. I wasn't motivated to eat well anymore. I plainly just didn't take care of myself. Why should I when I showed once again that I wasn't who I thought I was? I spent the rest of the year uncertain. I was unsure of who I was anymore, and I was unsure of why I should even stay at the school. I thought, did I even belong here in the first place? Should I have even gotten in? Was it even the right choice? I was unsure most of all about what I was going to do next. I spent the next 5 months after the season just sort of floating. I didn't bother to apply to anything, jobs or grad school or anything at all, because I just knew that I wasn't going to get in or they wouldn't take me. Why would they? I had again let a shortcoming and a failure invade my understanding of myself, and I changed my behavior to confirm what I thought about myself. So now I've told you my 2 stories, but I think it's important to make clear why I share them with you today. I do so to demonstrate what your life might feel like sometimes. Everyone in this room has experienced failure in some regard, and everyone in this room and everyone at the school and everyone that you know is going to experience some failure sometime in the future. And when I first ran into significant failures, instead of learning lessons from them and getting better, I believed them. I believed that these failures were indicative of the person that it actually was and the ability that I actually possessed. For me, if my success so far had been because of my ability, then these failures were proof positive of where I am now, and so my behavior going forward changed. I allowed them to confirm my beliefs. I often thought, why bother going to that class? You're going to fail anyway. I allowed ideas like that to be pervasive and change the way I behave with my peers, my professors, my coaches, and my parents. It wasn't really until I failed those 2 classes in my senior spring that I was confronted with what I would do next and how I would get out of it. Since then, I spent the last 8 years thinking and maturing and growing. I've spent a lot of time making up for the shortcomings during my time in college and forging new ways for myself and new ideas for my future. I say all this to say there will be ups and downs. There will be periods of your life where you feel like you just can't get it right. It may just be a few days, or it could be a few weeks or months, or even in my case, a few years. And even when it doesn't feel like things are going well for you, and when these times do come, work hard to get through them. Get the help and support you need, whatever that looks like. And most definitely, don't let your setbacks define you. You're more than that. Thank you.